Happy New Year and welcome back to my channel. I'm Chase Holden, also known as Garage Guy Chase, and I am very excited to bring you my first solo interview on this YouTube channel. It will also be available on X, and it's with somebody that I personally have always been fascinated with. Loved their car when I was a kid. And love the story, honestly, after hearing it in 2022 for the first time on Dale Jr. Download, really getting to dive into what actually happened to this man. His name is Jeremy Mayfield. Some of you may or may not know him. Raced for Team Penske with Evernham and the Dodge camp, and started his own team right at the end before he got into a big pickle with NASCAR and left the sport entirely. He dives a little bit deeper into his personal story, details that you may not have heard on Dale Jr. Download in 2022 or on other podcasts that he's been on since then. Really get Jeremy's thoughts on this court case with 2311 and FRM and going up against NASCAR, with him having the experience fighting a legal battle with NASCAR. And he's going to give his take today. He's going to talk a little bit about what he hopes to see come out of this. We also, towards the end of the video, really just touch on a topic I don't think he's ever personally discussed publicly, and that is ADHD. And we'll talk a little bit about what he is currently doing today and what his plans are for this new year, 2025. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, drop a comment below, share it with a friend today. Please enjoy this on this New Year's Day, my one-on-one interview with Jeremy Mayfield. All right, what is up, everybody? It's Garage Guy Chase, also known as Chase Holden, and I am coming to you today with a very special guest, somebody that I have been trying to talk with now for almost over 2 years, a man that I deeply admire, his story, and the big Pegasus that used to roll around the track lit me up as a kid. Getting to sit with him today, Mr. Jeremy Mayfield. Welcome to the program. And
thank you,
how
man.
are you doing?
I'm doing great, and glad to be on here. And thanks for having me. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I didn't know it was that long that we've been trying to get this going, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's this weird trail. I feel like now for like 2 years, like I definitely wanted to get you on, do an interview with you, and then I was wanting to be, I guess, closer, like in Charlotte or something at the time when we were gonna get this figured out, and things stack up, and now I think what really hit me recently was the latest news and things that have been coming out,
Right.
and it just made me realize, like, this is the perfect time, if there ever was a time, to chat with Jeremy and to finally get to do this and catch up. And I guess I kind of, before we get into the 2311 and NASCAR, situation that's happening right now, I kind of just wanted to start by, again, just saying thanks for being on this show and talking with me today. And 2 years ago, you were on Dale Jr. Download, and I, like many others, got to listen to your story, and it was very eye-opening, very compelling, and I kind of just wanted to start by asking, how has your life changed since doing Dale Jr. Download back in 2022?
I say it certainly helped, but as far as all my stuff that went on, to be able to talk to him and get it all out in the open, and he's got such a big audience and a great platform, and so for us to be able to go on there and kind of tell like it was, but there were so many details I didn't get a chance to say either. Everything I said and all the points I made, there's all these tiny little details that come off the side of it. So but it's been good. He's been the best thing that's happened as far as getting my story out than anywhere we've done. And it certainly helped. And I know he probably put his butt on the line a little bit doing that. And but I appreciate the heck out of it, because it certainly changed. It definitely changed my life. As far as all the people and the way people were seeing my side of the story or whatever. So, and I hear it all the time. I mean, I get people just about everywhere I go say, "Man, I seen you on Download or seen you on Dale Jr.'s thing," and that was just pretty cool to do that. And probably the coolest thing was after I was on there, he put Brian France on there. And I don't know if you've seen that one. So Brian had his chance to say what he had to say, and which wasn't much. And so I thought that was pretty neat too, the way he did that.
Yeah, he had him on. It was almost like it was like an expected call,
Right.
maybe in a
That's
way.
right. Right.
That's one way of looking at it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it just I remember talking to a lot of people after that, and I feel like it was this situation that it was a little bit forgotten, especially through our generation and my generation coming up, as a young fan, late 90s, early 2000s. And so getting to really remember like you on the track with Penske and your career, and then, getting on into the later years and how everything had shaped up, it was just very interesting to see how he was able to follow up on that. And we'll definitely
Right.
talk a little bit. But you made a point about you still got so much to say, and it's hard to kind of keep track of it. And I think we all know by now that you are diagnosed with ADHD,
Right.
and I am too. So I
Right.
get that
Yeah.
100%. And it's another big reason why I'd really just resonate with your story so much, because I've kind of I feel that on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
So trying to keep everything together and organized can be tough at times. So it definitely the discipline level is on a different wave. But from there, we can always go back and listen to that show, and there's other podcasts that you've been on as well. And today, it really, for me, where we are currently with the sport, I know that do you keep up pretty regularly with the races? Do you still watch the races a good bit, or are you kind of focusing on other things these days?
Yeah, I try to focus on my own deal. I'm trying to work on my own stuff and get it going. But I'll watch like bits and pieces of them. If I'm here at the shop, whatever, I'll turn it on and watch a little bit of here and there. I kind of keep up with it, but not really like I used to, for sure.
Yeah. So as far as the news goes, this story breaks out a few months back, and it was something that easily caught my eye because I felt it brewing for about a year and a half when Michael Jordan made some remarks about the TV deal and how there needed to be some more money spread around inside of the sport. And when it came out that 2311 and Front Row Motorsports were suing NASCAR, how did that news impact you, and what were your first thoughts?
Man, my first thoughts were it's going to be a long road, for both of them. And yeah, just it brought back a lot of memories. A lot of stuff we went through, and you start thinking about court dates and all the stuff that we dealt with on a day-to-day basis, and it's a tough deal. I'm sure for Michael and Denny, it's going to be a lot easier just because they got the money to pay their attorneys and not have to worry about it too much, let them handle it. But we were kind of having to stay on top of everything and drug tests and all this junk going on, and just a lot of stuff for us. But and that brought all that back. But the thing that really got our attention was when they came up with the thing to saying that they can't sue NASCAR. You can know for no reason. And that's the same exact thing we went through and lost our case on, was that right there. Well, I didn't lose it on a drug test or any of my tests I've done or anything like that. Only because we started fighting them. We thought, well, it'll all come out how everything went down. But what the judge threw our case out was on that, basically saying that we can't sue NASCAR for any reason. And I signed the paper when I signed my license, my NASCAR license, or to get my hard card. It says that on there. I didn't know that. And so I'm glad that came up, and that's something that really has got our attention now, because we went through exactly what happened on them.
Yeah, so that right there, that clause, like I made a video recently talking about that, and I felt like that alone was just completely baseless, and any judge or any lawyer that could realize that this was a catch-22, you feel like they would be smart enough to, right? And so in your case, that being the thing that kind of pulled you back, I've read some comments of things that you were saying, like you feel like maybe you shouldn't have gotten a lawyer in Charlotte.
Yeah, that's where we started off wrong. We got a great lawyer, a great firm that was Bill Deal at the time, and but I should have known better. I thought the justice system and the legal system all, they kind of keep things separate.
Fighting for you, yeah.
Right. And so that's what I thought to start with, and then we realized real quick that wasn't working, and then we had to back up and go another direction, which we did a great job. We got Mark Aragos and Dan Marino out of Washington to represent us, and they done a great job. It's just they were behind the eight ball to start with the whole thing, and if they'd have started we started off with them, we've been a lot better. But it still came right down to the basis of me signing my license, to get my license. It says you can't sue. And like you said, any judge would have not even let that been a part of it. And that's something I've already noticed about their case, is that the judge had to be a lot better than what we had, because, ours just threw it out like there's no problem, and basically threatened us, saying if you appeal this, then he threatened my attorneys about, what we call sanctions and all this stuff, So we were put in a tight box, and kind of, that's when we started realizing. Well, I realized early on that after the first couple of court dates, that politics are everywhere, and corruption's everywhere in politics. So I figured that out pretty quick, and then we realized, okay, we just got to fight this best we can, and not realizing that my attorneys knew that was in there, the cause was in there, and that's what they were going after. But like you said, the judge, you can't make his decision. He decided that just going to throw it out and be done with it, and that's what he done.
Yeah, and it's weird now, because I think that it just kind of goes to show that, like, having everything ready to go, like they obviously had to have plenty of time to get this thing planned out, and they knew
Right.
this. And your situation was kind of a little bit more maybe off guard, or is that too
right.
too loose to say? But I don't think so. I think that that's right on par. Like, it happened all so fast, and from what I've listened to and heard, and I know that this being different because this is, business entities, teams that are actively suing NASCAR. In your situation, it was more of them kind of trying to put you in a corner, and you stood up and said, no, I'm coming in. And
Right.
and at the time, I feel like where society was, and with that drug policy coming in, it was almost like this weird perfect storm where it's like, we have to have somebody to make an example out of, in
Right.
a way.
Right.
And that's all allegedly, for what we know. But hearing your side of the story, there's a graphic that I found online that was kind of showing piece by piece, and it was on Reddit. I don't know if
Right.
you've seen it or not.
Probably not.
Well, it shows piece by piece, your statements and the stories that were happening, and kind of the results of, like, where things have gone now. And everything has really lined up in your favor of everything that you're talking about and
Right.
saying, which is something in my generation, like, we really pay attention. Like, we're not easily bullshitted
Right.
anymore. And we can kind of see through that. And it just kind of gets you in this headspace where, when you see things like this happen, you see now today what NASCAR is trying to kind of do with the legal system, and it's not really working out.
Right.
It makes you wonder, and I wanted to ask you the question. You were in NASCAR for a very long time. When did you start to maybe notice this type of power shift happen, to where it was more of a, if you try to challenge the status quo, you're going to get shot down?
Yeah.
Was it always like that? Was there always a little bit of fear in the drivers and the owners throughout the years? Or was there a time where you could kind of get into a room and level with somebody, and there would be mutual respect?
No, it was day one. When I got there, I realized real quick that, and that was just a quiet thing that went through the garage area. You just don't challenge them on anything. And that means, like, for example, the small stuff, speeding on pit road. There's times where I can promise you that Rusty Wallace or myself or anybody that's got caught speeding, there's times where we weren't speeding, but you got caught anyway, and you couldn't do nothing. It's like you have a great day running top five, and boom, next thing you know, you're caught speeding on pit road. You're like, man, there ain't no way. I've been doing the same thing all day long, and we're good enough as drivers to know not to speed on pit road. You know what I mean? Because we know how big of a deal that is when you get caught speeding on pit road. It just screws your whole day up, and your whole day's done. You can't make it up. And so things like that would happen all the time. And you couldn't do nothing. You couldn't say nothing on the radio. If you raced hell on the radio saying, oh, that's bullshit, you can't, then boom, speeding on pit road again. You see it all the time. And so that's from that little stuff like that all the way to, down the line, that's what the fear in the garage area was. You just don't challenge them, and then if you appeal anything, who are you going to appeal to? They're not going to challenge them. That they've got everybody around them, that's, and not anymore. Doesn't seem like as bad, but before it was just like, man, you wouldn't say nothing, and a lot of guys get caught cheating or, said they got illegal parts, whatever, and nobody challenged it because they're like, what are we going to do? How are we going to win it? You can't win it. You just take your losses and go on back, and come back next week. And But it was like that throughout the garage area, and it's still like that today. All the drivers, all the crews, all the owners, they're all worried about, except for a few owners, that's bigger than NASCAR, and we know who they are. But that they just, front row or whatever it was, that they wouldn't have done that if Jordan and them hadn't done it to start with, or whatever the other guys, whoever the other person in their lawsuit, whatever, they wouldn't have done it unless they had somebody bigger to do it. So Jordan's just great enough guy, big enough guy that he can do what he wants to do, and I think it's pretty cool he's doing it. I'm behind him 100%.
Yeah, you do love to see it, and it's spot on with FRM too. And I'm glad they did get involved because they're a team that's been a part of NASCAR for a very long time, and so it was just great to see them, and especially once the injunction was won. Now that was very recently, and I think that really shocked everybody.
Yeah.
Finding out that, okay, you can take NASCAR to court, and there has now finally been a way to sort of get around these situations based off of some of these issues. And like we were both talking about, you can't sue NASCAR, but if you sign this agreement, you also can't sue NASCAR.
Yeah.
So it's like it's almost like they were thinking, maybe, I don't know, from my perspective, it looked like it's like you're walking into the courtroom and you just don't expect the judge to know this information.
Right. Oh yeah.
So with this now happening, do you feel like we're at a spot where we may actually see some real change, and we still have a lot to go? They still have the ability to appeal on the 8th for this specific case, but do you feel I guess good, personally for yourself and for maybe the future of NASCAR, now knowing that this small step has been taken, and how do you maybe see this playing out in the courtroom where we're sitting now?
Right. Well, like in my situation, that they couldn't lose the lawsuit with me, the one we had with them. They couldn't lose it because it would have just their credibility and just a lot of things going with that, and I realized
they're kind of in this situation too. I would feel like right now is because they realize that their entire perception is being threatened.
Right, and that was on one level, my deal was, but now looking at the level they're on now, they really can't lose this one. So there's going to be things that's coming up that, and they won the injunction, and the judge that says, okay, you can't have this, you can't sue NASCAR policy or whatever it is, but I promise you there'll be bigger issues coming up that they're going to bring up, and they're not going to take this lightly. I promise you that too. And they're going to definitely fight with everything they got, and in every which way they can fight it. And I don't know what I'm trying to say with that, other than whether it's on the racetrack, whether it's off the racetrack, whether it's in court. I don't know. But I can promise you they're not going to sit still. But the good thing about it is, unlike my deal, I can just kind of go away. I'm not going to affect the sport whatsoever. I just go away, and that's it. This is too big of a deal to go away. This is such a huge deal and what it's about is even better. When you start talking about monopoly and monopolizing this and corruption, you start talking about illicit politics, everything that goes on with all that. That's what all this is going to bring out. And I don't know where it's going to go from here. All I can tell you is that just hang on, because it's not over yet for sure. And I can't see NASCAR just bowing down to them and saying, okay, look, you sued us. Okay, the judge said this. Okay, we're done. Here, we'll go and give you what you want. That's not going to happen. I promise you that.
Yeah, so, there's definitely too much on the line.
Now, what I hope it does happen. I hope that they do realize that, because everybody that's looking at the sport wants that. They all want what Jordan and them are doing is not something that everybody else in that arena hasn't already said or seen or done. They all want the same thing that they want. The other ones just chickened out and went the wrong way. They were going to stand up for themselves. All the other rest of the teams. That's the guy goes from Hendrick all the way down the line. And Roger and them, they don't care. They got money. Hendrick's got the money. It doesn't bother them. They're racing either way. But these guys that need it, the Childress, Richard Childress needs it. A lot of those teams need the money, and so they're not going to upset the card whatsoever. So now you got a guy in there that's going to and doesn't really care what you think, which is the best thing that's ever happened, because I feel like it's gonna hopefully pull the sport back into some type of a normalcy. It's just the things that's going on right now and the direction it's headed is not normal. From what I'm seeing, as far as stock car racing, and it's really changed and it's went off so far off the beaten path. Seems like, for whatever reason they're trying to do, whether it's marketing or trying to get, I don't know what they're trying to do, but I know the racing's not good and the cars, their drivers don't like the cars, the team owners don't like spending the money. It's just a constant negative thing that goes on. And how are you supposed to have a positive experience with all that going on? You can't, so
Right.
if anything, it'll change the sport in a way that we've never seen for sure. Well, either way.
And I think that there's a lot of ideas that people have, and there's definitely a lot of great people that have raced in NASCAR. A lot of the Winston Cup era guys, the Sprint, Cup era guys, Nextel Cup. Those guys are now older veteran drivers. You yourself kind of were in that camp as well. And a lot of them have been very outspoken and had a lot of great ideas. Mark Martin is a guy that has been all over the place this year.
Right.
It's a guy I heavily admire. And, he's had comments. We have Kenny Wallace doing his thing now, and he's always out here talking about it. And so I wanted to know, do you still keep in contact with any of those guys? Do you chat with anybody that's currently in NASCAR now, and has anyone else kind of chatted with you on this issue and maybe kind of picked your mind or asked for any type of, I guess, an understanding of what's to come other than here on this podcast?
A little bit, I've done a couple other podcasts. We've talked about it a little bit, nothing like we're talking about now. Like you said, I know Mark, was outspoken on it, and all those guys you just mentioned we were all in part of in the late '90s when we watched it get to a peak, right when it was doing great, and that's the funnest time of my life. I had a great time racing back then, and the 2000s and early 2000s, it was just like, man, where's it going all in? It's such a big deal. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then we all got to watch it just go down to nothing, and we know what triggered that, what domino fell to make that happen, and that's when.
What was that?
I feel like it was when Bill France died, when he passed away and turned the torch over to Brian France. I'm just going to tell it like it is. The sport went to hell, we all seen that. It just went, not hell, but it started going straight down after that. And everybody in the garage area at that time knew that was what was going to happen. We all felt it, everybody. I'm not saying anything that none of them would say probably or think. That we've all talked about it. We were all in the garage area at the time. We all watched the sport get to where it was, and then we watched it head in the wrong direction, and we know who headed in the wrong direction, So that's why now nobody will say, "Oh, Brian France." I'll say Brian France because I know that's what happened, and I was told by Dale Earnhardt that that's what was going to happen, and he was right.
Senior?
Yes, Senior told me that like 99, 2000. He said, "Hey, you better save your money up." I said, "Really? Okay." I'm thinking, okay, just give me some advice. I don't know. He said, "Yeah." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well," he said, when old man France dies and Brian takes over, he said, it's going to be over. So be saving your money. I said, really? Okay. I'm thinking, how does one person destroy, the sport? There's no way. So it's not going to be over. I didn't believe him. I didn't think much of it. Then I started watching it happen, and then he passed away, and then it really went the wrong way. When Dale Earnhardt died, it really went the wrong way. And, sitting by looking now, I'm like, man, he was right all along. It's exactly what happened. And, it was for me anyway, for sure. And then the sport hasn't recovered since he's taken over or took over at that time. It's like they're just constantly trying to do all these stuff. And one of the things he said was he wasn't going to do to get, gimmicky things in the sport to make it better. Well, segment racing and calling it, not championships no more, pretty much. It's playoffs and, trying to make it look like a football game out there, and it's not going to happen,
Right.
NFL's not going to change their stuff and let the quarterbacks have wheels that are motorized or something. They're not going to do stupid stuff like that, or have cautions in a football game. Imagine that. That's the difference in them, And you're trying to compete against the NFL. I'm like, in baseball and all this stuff. Why? We had our own deal going on. We didn't need anybody else, at that time.
Right. And I think that's what made it special.
Yeah, exactly. That's what made it. And then, you look back at I call it, they took the accents out of racing. They took the Southern accent people out of racing pretty much. You don't see a lot of that anymore. And the drivers for sure, and they don't say nothing. They all say the same thing. And fans don't want to hear that. And NASCAR don't want to hear what I'm saying right now, because I like to say that for them to tell me I'm wrong, and how I'm wrong. And I'd love to hear that, but they're just, there's too many drivers that get on TV. I couldn't even tell you, just by watching what little I do, I couldn't tell you who's driving what cars are in. They're all just just a blur anymore. You know, the cars are, you don't know what sponsors are on them. You can do no Pennzoil car for sure. You see it yellow, you know, I mean,
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
like that. But used to, you could just look at the races and tell who's in what car, what color it was, you know, and by the brand on it. And that's gone. You know, that's different every week for them now. They got different sponsors every week because they got to do whatever they can do to hang on, to survive as team owners, you know, to get whatever sponsor money they can get. They got to put all those on there. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a mess. It looks like when I watch it, I'm just get disgusted and just turn around and walk off because, I mean, it's just nothing there. And the announcers, I mean, they've done a great job and they do all they can do to make it sound exciting. But you got to be careful there too, because when you tell the fans out there how this last 10 laps is going to be the most exciting race you've ever seen in the world, they're going to be 3 wide and all these guys are took the gloves off and all this stuff, and then it doesn't happen. That's like the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight. You know, okay,
Right.
it's going to be the biggest fight in the world. Oh, it's going to be great. Wait till the end of it. Well, how'd that go for them? You know,
Right.
and that's what the sport is. You know, that they're doing that, and they're doing all they know how to do because they're just announcing the race. You know, trying to make it exciting. Why? How can racing anything exciting no more? That's what brings people in. Make it exciting, then let the commentators talk about how that went. You know, not build
Right.
this big old picture up and then go, well, that sucked. You know, and that's
I
what you
think
get.
I think that what you're saying all resonates, and you made a lot of fantastic points that I think a lot of people agree with, and it all is a part of kind of this domino effect that you were kind of attributing to when Brian France Jr. kind of stepped in. It seems like that for you was where things kind of started going downhill, and I'm sure you can draw those up. But yeah, that stack of events between you know, Big France dying and then Dale Sr. passing away, a lot of fans kind of fell out around that time. So it kind of all shadow. It was just a weird shadow that was hanging over the sport, I guess is the best way to put it. And so while all those things that you did mention are like things that we all want to see get fixed, I do think that they can, but I feel like with what you were saying about you know, the sponsors, you know, that for me that's a big one that I agree with you on, because that consistency in branding is what makes people become attached to certain drivers and to certain brands itself. Like, you know, you knew that when you saw, you know, Denny going around the track, you know, FedEx is leaving NASCAR now, so
Right.
there's only a couple of races, I think, or maybe zero, I'm not 100% sure, but we saw M&M's pull out. You know, Joe Gibbs is kind of the last guy that had some of these relationships with these companies, and people are just going in different directions with marketing now, and that is definitely not good for racing, because when you're having the inconsistency, you really can't tell, and it just loses the luster.
Right.
So, you know, I do think that there's a way to fix that. It's going to take time, like anything else, and from where you're sitting now, you know, and looking at what could be if things do work in a different way, which I personally feel, you know, that things are in an area now where it's just too much is exposed. There's been, you know, your story is out. We have a better understanding now of legal terminology with new technologies that are out here that people are using. I use myself, and so it helps you to kind of really see what's really going on. And Brian France and the France family, I guess, entirely, like, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that they're not trying everything that they could, but at the same time, ego is in all of us and can be in all of us. And so with that, you have to kind of realize, like, what's better, like a sport surviving and thriving and continuing that legacy, or personal gain over a short period of time. And this time period has been from what, ranging right around a little bit over 20 years now, right?
Right.
So if the tide were to shift and this case were to be won, what do you think should be the logical next step in reforming this charter system? Just to get your opinion, you're reforming this charter system, and what's the first thing that you think should be implemented or done to kind of get things back on track?
Right. Well, I mean, you look at that's a big question, you know, and a lot of things go into that. But as far as like the charter goes, I think it's a great idea having a charter system like that. But if it works. And the way you make it work is all the teams that are part of that have influence on the direction the sport's going. It seems to me like, they should have. Uh, I don't see that happening because then that's what the big fight's all about. NASCAR doesn't want to lose control of that, but NASCAR has got to stop every once in a while, someday, and not tell each other up there or down Daytona where they're at how great everything is all the time. Yeah, it's all great for them because the money just keeps flowing to them. It just keeps flowing in no matter what.
Kind
and
of
they
a small bubble. Yeah.
Yeah, they just come in and whoever the president is now, I'm not sure who it is or where anybody the executives are, but they need to stop just for a second and ask themselves, are we really heading in the right direction? Is this really where we want the sport to go? And where are we wanting it to go? Because nobody knows that. The owners don't know that. Drivers don't know that. They don't know what. They're just back here riding the wave, sitting there, going wherever the boat goes, it has to be more of, if you want racing to be better, when you want to talk to people who race, when you want to talk to people that's done this all their life and that has a lot of experience racing, because none of them up there know a thing about racing, as far as how to build a car, what the car should look like, da-da-da-da-da. And yeah, they can go hire the best engineers. They can go hire the best people to tell them what it is. It's still not like good people that's got their hands on the fire all the time working and racing, and hopefully that's where it'll come to. It'll come to where they'll have meetings and what I'd like to see anyway. And then, the owners get to put their 2 cents worth in, and NASCAR just doesn't come back and not do anything they say, which is what they've done in the past, and just do what they want to do. It's time to listen to what racers need and what they want to make their stuff better, to put on a better show, which in turn that makes it better for the fans, obviously. Then sponsors want to be a part of it. It's not that difficult, I wouldn't think, especially if you got all the money,
Right.
If I had their kind of money, I guarantee I'd be listening, want to make the racing the best I can make it, and I don't know why they're not doing that. All they're concerned about is let's get all the cars the same. That way, if all these drivers, if they better all be the same too, so they all like the same feel, they all like the same looseness or tightness or whatever it is in their cars. And then when they hit, they like the same harshness they get when they feel the road bars that don't cave in, or and what they were having concussions left and right and all this stuff. So that's the stuff they should have listened to, and they didn't. And you can tell by looking at the new car that wasn't a racer built car. That was somebody over here that's got all these wild ideas and got a budget to do it. And then who's going to pay for it? The owners pay for it. They got to buy the cars from them, buy the body parts from them. It can't be 2,000 off or 3,000, whatever the tolerance is nowadays, which is crazy. Go back to racing. Go back to, let the teams build the best stuff they can build and go from there, and not trying to make it all. F1's not all the same. They got, who are they? Look what they're doing. They're killing them right now, and they don't have all the same
NASCAR
stuff.
had just hired a guy actually to do marketing for them that came from F1.
Right, but they won't listen to him. This starts with the people building the cars. Just starts down at the bottom, and so hopefully that's what the charter will bring, is something like that to at least help get it back to where fans, that out here watching racing understand it and want to watch it every Sunday because it's good racing. That's what it's all about, the show. It's not about the followers. It's not about, blacks and whites and Hispanics or Mexicans. It doesn't matter. Everybody wants to watch a good race. That's what it's about. And they try to put it off on making all these different things happen. You can see it every year at the beginning of the year and sort of at the end of the year happen, what the story's going to be for the following year. It's not storyline. This is racing. This is what it should be. And now let's just go race. Look at all the stuff the team owners and drivers and all that they got to do every week just to satisfy NASCAR. For what? For what? Being the sanctioning body that's putting on the show? Okay, I understand that. All they need to do is just make all the cars legal for whatever the rules are. I don't even know if there's any rules anymore other than thousands here, 2,000 there.
They got rules.
Yeah, they're everywhere. And it's so much stuff it doesn't even make sense. I'd hate to be a crew chief or anybody working on the cars. Well, no, it'd be easy because all you got to do is buy a NASCAR's car, bring the shop, and put it together, and I guess go race it. But that costs you how many millions of dollars for a car now?
Yeah, it's a lot of money. And the tough part too is I'm also hearing that there's a lot of people are nervous about engineers in NASCAR being a little more underpaid than other series, and they're having a tougher time getting these engineers, and you need that right now more than ever. I'm a big advocate for artificial intelligence and AI, and that's not saying EV cars and battery stuff. There are real ways to use this thing and keep racing the traditional way it's been, but accelerate it to a new way of being. And coming back to, I just wanted to come back real quick to Dale Earnhardt when you were talking about him. You know, and everything that you said recently made me really just kind of remember that when you look at what Dale did to the sport, I know like him and Jeff getting together, it's kind of become public knowledge now that they kind of would team up a little bit. They kind of knew what they were doing with their rivalry. They knew that they were stirring things up, and it was good for everybody. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. We haven't really had a driver, I feel like, that has been as passionate as Dale Sr. was about the sport as a whole. He kind of put it on his back. And you don't get a lot of men in life that are completely unattached. I guess you would say, like, it's like he wasn't the CEO of NASCAR. But because he raced in it, he took pride in the fact that that was his series.
Yeah.
And he wanted to see it be the best that it can be. And I as a fan and now in media, like I share that same sentiment. And so I think that more people being able to speak out and be able to speak the truth about what's happening and not be afraid of losing everything that they have. Like, you're one of those guys. You put it on the line because you know that, like, whether that be the way you were raised, your morals, things like that, like, you knew that, like, if something was wrong, that this is what was the issue. And in your case, I think it was Evernham wasn't as present as he should have been. From what I've read, and there was a new teammate that came in you spent a lot of time with, and this was what you said. I don't want to misquote you.
No, you're exactly right.
So I guess, like, having more people that can be passionate about the sport is important, and I think you would agree with that too. And then also being able to find ways to realize that we're all human and we all want the same thing, and getting everybody kind of aligned in this groove to where it's like, let's remember that teamwork makes the dream work.
Right.
And that goes from the corporate level all the way down to the owner level, because if everything's greased like that, you're going to be able to challenge the NFL because it's you versus you at that point, right?
Right, exactly.
And
that's
so,
where that's where it was kind of headed. That's kind of the way it was. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're exactly right about Earnhardt. Earnhardt had all the fans. So he had a lot of pull. He had a lot of say. Plus, that's when Bill Sr. was still alive. And they kind of worked together on it. I'd say talked anyway, but Earnhardt took it and went because he had the fans. And he had everybody behind him. And so what could they say? And then I look at now, and just as you were saying that, I was standing there thinking that, okay, you got Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, Cale Yarborough. I'm thinking people that's been influential in the sport in a big way. Richard Petty, all these people that's been there. Okay, then you go, okay, wouldn't you just want to follow that model? Because that's what got them there. Okay,
right.
So now who's going to be our next Dale Earnhardt? Who's out there now? Who's the next Dale Earnhardt right now?
Yeah, Kyle Larson is probably the closest thing that we have right now.
I'm saying on and off the track that people can relate to and look up to and respect, like Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah, I mean, it's really when you're looking at it pop culture-wise.
There's none out there. Okay,
yeah.
Next one, Cale Yarborough. Ain't none there, right? But the thing I'm trying to get to you right now is Richard Petty. Jeff Gordon. Jeff was kind of on the back side of that, but he was right there with them. All right, you look at that and you go, okay, what was it? It wasn't all Dale Earnhardt's performance on the racetrack. Dale put on a great show every week, just like I was talking about earlier, having a good show. But he was relatable. People.
He was himself.
Yes. And he was always himself. He was always the same. And people like that. They like Cale Yarborough. They like Richard Petty. Why Richard Petty? Well, he won a bunch of races. Yeah, he won 200 races. Nobody cares how many races Richard Petty won. He won 200. Great. They like Richard Petty. And
his image alone is
exactly.
Just contagious.
It don't matter if he won 2 races or 200 races or 2 championships or none. Richard Petty was Richard Petty. And I'm looking at that wall behind you, your picture right there. Tim Richmond. I see all those guys. They made the sport, and who's replacing them?
Exactly.
I'm talking about personality-wise off the racetrack. There's nobody there today that can replace Dale Earnhardt, Cale Yarborough, Richard Petty. None of them, right? None of them.
And do you think that that's this strangle? Do you think that it's just strangle that's just put on? I mean, you hear it all the time, and I mean, I think we all know that it's true. But like just wanted to hear it from you. I mean, like, this strangle grip that it's fear is what it looks like from my perspective.
From the fear from the top, right? Exactly. That's the whole point I'm trying to make here. You know, it all comes from the top. The fear of you can't do nothing. Those drivers out there, there will never be another Dale Earnhardt ever in NASCAR the way it is. You know, just because it on and off the racetrack, the guy he was won't be there anymore. They don't want nobody that gets on Monday mornings on his bulldozer. You know, out there on his farm taking care of stuff. That's not what you have right now. There's nobody in the garage here right now that's doing that on Monday morning, right?
Right.
Nobody.
No, I mean
they're not going back to their dealership on, you know, in Darlington, and Raquel was, you know, working on the farm every day. You know, I can go on. Harry Gant, you know, David Pearson. Those guys built the sport. Whether NASCAR likes it or not, NASCAR was just along for the ride, the way I see it at that point in time, because they had it. They're the ones that made it. You know, and now get rid of all them. And, we don't want nobody talks that doesn't have the right accent, you know. Okay, what is that? What's the right accent? You follow me?
Where is it? Did they say that somewhere? Like, did anybody say that?
Just watch the races. Is there?
I'm talking about the accent thing because I've never heard that one before.
Well, just because it's just a little quiet thing that people talk about. You don't hear a Dale Earnhardt's accent, do you? Who talks like Dale Earnhardt? Or who talks
just
like
Bob?
I guess what I'm trying to say, the Southern accent is gone. You know, there's no more of that.
Like,
you know,
I mean, I'm from Louisiana, and I'll say this: like, I've been around, but like, I feel like there is this thing where maybe with the internet and just our generation, like, I do notice that a lot more dialect starts to change with certain people, and like, man, I don't know if it's just like there's definitely still Southern draws out there, but
right. And I say accents.
What you mean is just like speaking freely, like being able to really say what you want, not worry about losing a sponsor, not worry about, you know, upsetting your team owner, those type of things.
Right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And if you just listen to the way they talk and everywhere, you know, the stuff they say, and they're doing all they know how to do because they got the chokehold on them, like you said, from the top. And I read the other day where I think it was on the internet, they're talking about NASCAR's going to start paying the drivers, I guess, to say good things about the sport.
Really?
Some kind of deal like that, some marketing deal they got going on or something, you know, that reward the drivers with something, you know, for doing great things in the social media. So maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about that.
We're big on that on our show. Like, we always want the IndyCar guys to be out there, and they listen, and like they're starting to do more content and things like that. And I think that right now in IndyCar, and I know we briefly talked about it before we started filming, but like you said, you haven't watched much IndyCar. It's a series right now that I feel like has a lot of really just exponential growth if certain things kind of go in the right direction, more ovals coming into play and stuff like that. And I feel like they're in a spot right now where maybe they can take advantage of some of these things where NASCAR maybe has gotten it wrong over the years, and they could try to come back. And I want to see racing in America just be great all over the place, you know. Having you know, teams being able to kind of like find ways to profit on their own. Like the Chase Authentics thing with Dale Earnhardt. And I know that was all kind of put together and coordinated, but it feels like there was a lot more creativity in the sport. I wear nothing but just old stuff because like, that was the best era. Everything now is just like quick press on a T-shirt. Well, how can we churn the quickest profit? There's no art and creativity there anymore. So all these little elements,
and it won't have the value that Winston Cup shirt has. But 20 years from now, it'll be gone. You know, nobody loves the value. Yeah, now that's worth something. You know what I mean? Now you got value in it. You know,
it's crazy. It's like buying stock, dude. So it's like that's the thing. It's like, so if all this stuff, like you were saying, it's like if you have that model, like why would you try to reinvent the wheel? And I think that what we start to draw, as you know, you and I have had this conversation, it just makes a lot of sense that it's just. Ego can be a real interrupter. And that's not something you can always control. You can only really focus on what you can control at the end of the day. But it's like you have this sense, and I know I have it, and I feel like you do too. Like there's this part of you that's just like, you grew up racing. You love racing, and so you're going to look at whatever the top, like the pinnacle of motorsport is, where you are. And like you look in America, NFL, NBA, MLB, NASCAR, that's the racing. That's where it is, you know, and F1 is now slowly creeping on that, and they're trying to take that over. And I know that tides shift all the time, but it's like you feel do you feel like a responsibility? Like, do you feel like even though you're not really tied to it, you're just like, I want to see this work. Like this needs to work. Like your heart's in it, you know?
Right.
You can't control that.
Right. And I feel that way, you know, even though that we've had our differences and I'm no longer a part of that, I still feel like I need to say and tell the world out there what I see, you know, and maybe something, they'll get something out of some of this and maybe listen, or somebody will, you know, to help the sport.
Right.
All I'm trying to do is tell you everything that's positive. I'm not trying to be negative and knock NASCAR by no means. I'm trying to say, okay, this is what I see them going down this direction, and whether my opinion amounts to anything or not, I'm just going to say it, you know. And here's another good one. And now that you said that too, was I was sitting there thinking, you mentioned the NFL, you know, the NBA, baseball, all that stuff. All the sports have been around for years, since way before NASCAR, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. How much have they changed over the years?
Not much. Baseball's a little bit now, but not much.
Not much. And do they make changes to the bats all the time? Do they change their helmets all the time? Do they make their gloves, cheated up gloves? They got to be within the thousandths of an inch, going through the templates and all that. They don't have that. You know,
because it's different. It is different.
Right, but it's the same show that's been successful all these years that came up through there, right? All right. You don't see football. You know, how many times you seen NFL football and they change the rules right in the middle of the game? Mm-hmm. They don't.
No.
They don't. They don't.
That is a problem. Like we've had the races. We've had some pretty tough races.
All right. Have you ever left or what? You know, when the game's over on Sunday night or whenever you watch the football, have you ever had them say, "Okay, we won't know till tomorrow, folks. Maybe even next week for who won the game today."
No,
it's not going to happen, is it? And then every Tuesday we're going to come out with penalties for the football's too slick. You know, the sidelines were 10,000 is too close together. You know, anything. You don't see none of that's changed. All right, so it's been successful all these years, and what they kept it the same, and they just let it evolve, and it turned into bigger and better things, and it's the greatest thing on earth now, right?
All right. Well, and then you develop more people that are coming into your sport that have that passion, and then they are able to just snowball that.
Right, and then
that's what seems to have dried up in NASCAR.
Right. Then you look at the older people that like football. I like football. Everybody does. I've watched it all my life. You know. All right, I don't like baseball, so I don't watch baseball. So I watch football. Okay, but what happens is that's generations and generations and generations, which is mounted to this huge thing that's went on for NFL, right?
Right.
All right, when NASCAR had that going on, all the older people. Now I talk to older people. I see this every day just about. Somebody come up to me, "Hey, Jeremy, I'm so-and-so," say 60, 70-year-old. I don't even turn my TV on no more on Sunday. I leave it off. I don't watch it. I hear that all the time. And whether they want to believe that or not, that's the story that's out there, that everybody says that, you know, that I talk to, that, and these are strangers I don't know, you know. I don't even watch the stuff no more. I don't even watch stuff. Since Dale Earnhardt died, I don't watch the stuff no more. They're all saying that, right? Because guess what? When they turn it on now, watch it, they're like, it's Greek to them. You know, it looks like, what is this, a rally course race, or what is this thing? You know what I mean? You don't know. You know, they're running at Charlotte this week. You turn it on, it's a Roval. You know what I mean? These people don't know what Roval means and all that stuff. So you alienated all your fans that got you there, and now you're trying to get them all back. It ain't gonna happen. You know, why do you show old highlights of back in the day racing? You show those all the time now. That, and then all the new stuff's about wrecking.
That's about the best start you can have, I guess, to trying to get back there. You know, like it's like you got to remember what the principles were, and you got to remember what the model was, and then you have to let that marinate over a set amount of time. So, like, all this stuff's going to take time, and I think that there's just this level of impatience, and it's like, well, if we do this, then we're going to have a setback. So we might as well just keep things the way that they are. And I feel like that's what a lot of people do, even outside of racing, just in business in general. I mean, because it's like at the end of the day, you know, everybody's trying to earn their keep, but at the same time, like we both said, like it's very rare that you have a guy like Earnhardt come into a sport, and you have to have people like that. You got like the Kelsey brothers in the NFL. Right. They're like that, you know, like they have their own jam going.
Right, but before Earnhardt, you had Richard Petty, you had Cale Yarborough, David Pierce, all these solid founded, you know, great rock solid people that came up to the sport, that built the sport, you know, and built it on their passion the way they won the race. Junior Johnson, you know, come from the mountains of North Wilkesboro, right? You don't see that anymore, do you?
No.
Well,
you do got North Wilkesboro back as a track, though. I would like to ask you, like, is that exciting for you?
That's great too. You got Wilkesboro back as a racetrack, which is they've done a great job up there, right? How was the racing? How was the show?
That's short tracks right now. That's short track racing right now.
Right, but what happened to it? What happened to it?
It got stunk up. The last one I watched got stunk up by Kyle Larson. I'll put it that way.
Right, and it's just follow the leader, and now nobody cares about Wilkesboro no more. So now you've ruined that deal, you know. So now what do you do? And I
Right.
guess what I'm trying to say is that the bottom line is that it starts at the top and it's going to have to work its way down. And when you get over your arrogance up here and your egos and you go, okay, man, wait a minute, maybe we need to listen to some things that I'm saying or you're saying or Mark Martin's saying or somebody's saying. Maybe they're right. Maybe a couple things are right, and maybe we
Yeah.
need to head that direction. And they won't, but I mean, I'm just saying, I wish they would.
Well, I don't want to say that they won't 100% because, like I said, if this stuff works out in MJ, Denny, and FRM's favor, court wise, like they're gonna have to restructure. I don't think that they're gonna want to release financial records and things like that. They'll try to find some kind of a settlement. If and that's where I really think that would head to. But if you are able to get that, I think that I mean, in my opinion, I feel like the first logical step is you need to form some type of expert board. And I mentioned it in a video recently where it's like, get like a group of 10 guys that are retired drivers that that had a significant impact on the sport. There's guys out there like Mark Martin, Ricky Rudd's still around. You've got Jeff.
Common
Like,
sense.
yeah, you get these heads together. They were from that, and I'm telling you, they'll be able to look at where we are today, and then you get some ideas from some younger guys and girls, and then you just kind of merge those things together, and it's not too hard, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel too much, but
Right.
at the end of the day, we're not sitting where they are. We're not in those positions. All we can do is hope for the best. And I think that that's why I love where media has went now, because you and I can sit here, have this kind of a conversation and put it out to the public. And these ideas are now out there for everybody to kind of consume. And hopefully it lands somewhere where it can make a difference.
Right. We were talking about Earnhardt, his influence on the fans and everything he done for the sport. Look at Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
All right, Michael Jordan, he left basketball, but what happened? The sport just kept rolling and just kept going because he
He's
got
still a
LeBron
part of
James,
basketball forever.
Kobe Bryant. Yeah, right. All these
He's the Richard
players.
Petty of basketball.
Exactly, but there's generations coming just like him that play just like him, and put on a great show. There'll never be another Michael Jordan, but they're still strong. Is what I'm trying to say.
They aspire to be.
The sport is
right.
They
aspire to be.
And something else too that just drives me crazy is, have you ever went to let's say a NFL game or just watch it on TV? It doesn't matter. How many stands have they taken down in any of the stadiums?
Yeah, none.
And they're packed. They're full. College football full. You can't get nobody else in. They're not covering up their stands with beer signs and everything else, whatever you want to put on an advertisement, just because they don't have the fans there where it looks like it's full.
Right.
Am I right? I mean, I watched the race. I watched the race the other day. It was the 98 that Earnhardt won the 500. You look at the bike stretch, full. Daytona, full. Man, you couldn't get another person in there. Now, when it comes on this year, watch it. Just compare notes. Just look at the picture of that one and the picture of this one and see what you got.
That's the thing that I would do every time we would go to races. So I didn't get to go to a NASCAR race at all last year for the first time in a long time. But the one thing that I would do is every time we would be down on pit road before the race started, I always would take that moment before before we did the national anthem. I would look up and just be like, let's see what this looks like today. And I did notice at times, like, you get to like Talladega, you're going to have a pretty good crowd size.
Right.
Daytona, the seats are literally colored in a way now to where it looks like there's people.
Right.
So
when you're watching it on TV, it looks like it's full,
Right. So it is good. Like I really do think there is a new generation because of the new media. And my hope is that by the kids now in their early 20s, late teens, more people in my age group in their early 30s, we got to kind of keep this moving and going. And there is a growing interest of people that see this for what it is and are able to just be able to say, yeah, that's what it is. And they're also able to be like, but at the same time, like, they are in control, technically, legally, they can do these things. And you kind of got to be able to play devil's advocate with it, or maybe just, in my opinion, just see both perspectives. And I try to put myself in both sides of it all. And in this particular case, I just can't see much upside when I'm on the perception side of the corporate control. And
right.
So I guess from there, this conversation has been great, and I get this next question is not so much related to racing, but a lot more to our conversation, and specifically to you and I as two guys with ADHD. I noticed just after us talking a little bit, and I'm the same way. Like I feel like sometimes, like for me, when I go to like say something, like it's like I kind of like know what I mean here, and it'll come out maybe in a way where it doesn't always resonate. So it's been refreshing to get to kind of chat with you and like kind of be able to try to like put together like some things like the concepts that you have and the way that you're saying them, and be able to figure that out and hear it in a new way. And I wanted to just kind of ask you, like, with that, like, I know how significant that's been. I was undiagnosed. I was diagnosed at 5, and I wasn't put on any medication. So I was just, they had this new term out there, just raw dogging life with ADHD. I wanted to know, like, was there, like, when you were younger, like this is something that's with you, like, from birth, like, when did you notice that stuff was, like, different for you? And how was your childhood and, like, coming up, like understanding, like, that way of being, like, seeing the world differently, maybe, or experiencing things differently?
I think that as far back as I can remember, I didn't do very well in school. I talked all the time. I stayed in trouble, kicked out of class, and I couldn't. And I literally, as school went on, as years went on, I got older. I literally could not, I couldn't sit down and just do any homework. It didn't seem like I couldn't do it. I'd just be lost, or I just didn't have any interest in it or something. I don't know what it was, and at that time, you don't know what anything means anyway. I just didn't understand how people come in, they're all organized, got their books and all their notes are taken and all this stuff. I didn't take notes. I didn't do any of that stuff. I didn't not that I didn't know how, I just didn't want to, I just didn't do it,
Right.
And, that's just kind of the way my life's been, and it's been like that since far back as I can remember. I always wanted to ride motorcycles or be on the go-kart, something fast, something going, something moving, something doing all the time. And then, as I got older, I started realizing that I'm not different, or I think I'm different a little bit. I got told I was different a lot, but you don't realize that, you just kind of see things a different way. And, I get teased all the time about I hit my head too many times or whatever, and racing and everything else, but I don't feel like I have. I just do see things that I think totally different than everybody else does sometimes,
Yeah, you latch. What was the thing that, like, I think I know what you're saying. Like, when you would go to sit down, like, for me, it was like math. I would always, and I still do, I get this anxiety almost where I'm like fidgety, and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go put my focus on the things that I want to focus on. Yeah. And so what was that thing for you? Like what was the things that, like, you found that it was just naturally easy to focus on?
Right. And that was all racing. I mean, that's all I know, and that's all I've ever done is race, and the part I liked about it was I worked on my own cars, I built my own stuff, I painted my own cars, I've done about everything you can do as far as a race car goes. I've done it, and I understand how they work, I understand the chassis stuff, that was my passion right there. It was all racing, and nothing else.
Your superpower is what it is. You hyper focus on that thing,
and it's nothing else mattered to me, and I got laughed at in school because they said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" You hear, "Oh, president," and you hear some over here, doctor, and I'm like, "I'm gonna be a race car driver," and that's all my focus was on. I played football in high school and middle school and all that, but I couldn't wait to get home work on the race car, and nobody had to make me do that. I loved it. That's what I wanted to do. They had to make me go to practice, make me go to school, but working on the race car, I was there all night. I worked so many overnights that it's not even funny. How many times I worked, 3 days straight on them, just working on the car, and that's all I love to do, and just still,
you don't want to sleep at that point. It's like you want to get the job done, and like until it gets finished, like it's like, okay, this isn't over yet, like, and you can't explain why, but it's just like, this is what I'm doing, and I have to figure this out. You have to let me get this done. Like, exactly. I know that feeling all too well, dude.
Yep. And I really feel that way today. I'm still that way today on my race stuff. It's all I want to do, and it sucks because I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to go get a job somewhere and work 40 hours a week doing something I don't want to do. That just the thought of that right there, it just would drive me crazy, having to do that, and no matter what it is, if it wasn't racing, I just don't want to be a part of it, I just don't want really nothing to do with it. And I deal with stuff, I still do things, and, I don't really want to do, but, my passion is racing, and that's what I love to do. And when that's all you've known how to do, what do you do now? That's where I've been, which I'm racing now, but it's, now not like I was, but it's still having a lot of fun doing it.
You're still going to do that, and I definitely want to chat with you a little bit about that before we depart. Like, I know we're getting close to hitting the hour mark here. I get one more question I did have about just the ADHD in general. Like, looking back on it, I know obviously like you could easily choose to look at taking stimulants or Adderall like as the thing that like made you lose the thing that you love the most in a way. And you could argue that that's what it was, and it was other things too. But how, like, I guess mentally for you, like when you started taking those stimulants, like how much did that benefit you, or did it benefit you really at all? Like when you were taking that?
Well, here's what's kind of weird about the whole situation was I never took anything. My whole career, my whole life, I wouldn't even hardly take aspirin. You know what I mean? Just I take it if I had a headache or something.
Right.
So when I started my own team, this is late in my career. This was right before it happened, 3 or 4 months before it happened. We started our own team, and when I done that, my wife's like, "You need to do something. Let's go get you checked out. Whatever.
You got to be a business owner now."
Yeah, and told you I did not want to do that. I don't like sitting in meetings and going out to dinners and all this stuff.
Right.
And she's like, "You have to do something because you got to get to where So, and I've tried that. I've tried to figure out a way where I'm better at that, and I'm not good at it, So that's when I went and seen the doctor and stuff. So I only took Adderall like 3 or 4 months, and that was it. I don't take it today, because to me it felt like all the drive I'm telling you about, the racing, the passion, what I love to do every day, it kind of just made all that just kind of blend in with everything else, and
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
I got to Roger's.
That's why I don't take stimulants anymore. I took Adderall for a very long time, man, and I started when I got to college, and I noticed that like I was like, dang, I can like wake up early and just like study real quick and go make good grades, and I was like, that's cool, but at the same time, I started noticing that I just had this disconnect from the passions that I had in my life.
That's exactly what happened to me, and that's why I was so forward about it. When I told Dr. Black what I was taking, the first thing out of his mouth was, "What's a person your age doing taking Adderall? You trying to get stimulated?"
Yeah. It was so new.
I'm like, I like just punching him right in the head, but I'm sitting there going, dude, I don't want to take this shit. You know what I mean? All it's done for me is just made me just chill out and just like stay up all night,
Yeah.
And
it's
that's all it done.
Completely opposite of what something
didn't want to
that
do anything.
would get you.
I sit on the couch watching TV all night long, just like this. Didn't feel like moving. Wasn't just didn't want to do shit. In the center of flipping through the channels. I never
locked
did that.
in, zombied out.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. And I'm like, so how is that going to do? Now let's take another step further. Now when it all came out, it's methamphetamine. What's methamphetamine gonna do for you? You know what I mean? Adderall's the same damn thing. Basically,
we're already naturally kind of like that way. Like we're hyper focused on things, so it's like that's just your personality when you have like this. It literally is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Right, you said it right, but personality, because I feel like my personality went all to shit. Like I feel like there's an edge to me that it took the edge off of me that I didn't like. Like I don't want to sit here and just go. Be on this interview going, hey man, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I wish they did things better. That's not me. And this is who I am. And I like being a little bit on edge and and loving racing like I do and working on the cars, and that's part of that what I liked. And it took that away from me. The Adderall did. And I had no idea at the time that it was doing that to me till after I stopped taking it. Then I'm like, bam, now everything cleared up. It was just like now I feel back to normal. And I don't know. It's just hard for me to have that conversation with people that's not like that. Like you're saying, you understand exactly what I'm saying, and I don't know how to explain it any better than that. Just other than I wasn't happy taking Adderall. I can tell you that, and I had no problems not taking it. And I didn't know that it was a drug that everybody considers a bad drug, until all this happened, went about. And nowadays you hear a lot of bad stuff about Adderall. People
nowadays they can't even produce enough to get it out to people because there's so many people on it.
Right.
And there's people on it that it shouldn't be on it. They're not supposed to be on it. And the people that really need it, that are just like a level higher than probably you and I, they can't even get what they need. And there's no telling how they're handling life out here. So.
Oh, exactly. And so you see all that. And I've done the same thing you've done. I've researched all that stuff, and trust me, we know a lot about everything, as far as drug tests and all that stuff go. And it's just,
You
just
realize how to
sucks,
live
you know?
with it after a while, I think. Like
Yeah,
like for me now, like being off of Adderall, like I've realized like yeah, it was hard, but like anything else in life, like you go choose racing, I feel like there's this resilience in not just in myself that I can say are from you, but like I have other friends that have it. And like there's this resilience in you, like whenever you're able to kind of get over that hump of like finding a groove kind of or finding a way to kind of make things be organized or work for you,
right,
like it's you can hyper focus on everything, and it really is. It's almost like
right,
they say ADHD is a bad thing. I feel like it's a superpower in a way.
right. I feel
So
like that too, and I feel like I lost that edge when I started taking it. But I still feel like every day I struggle. I mean, I struggle
yeah,
every day. With organizing things and being on time and just all this goes on every day that you're on your everyday life. And
you got your wife helping you, which is great. And my wife helps me a ton.
man,
So
if it weren't for my wife, no telling where I'd be right now because she definitely understands it and really has learned a lot about it. And by doing that, she's learned a lot about me and I'm not just not showing up on time because I want to. You know what I mean? I don't know if you're late all the
right,
time. I'm late all the time about everything I do. And if I think I got to be somewhere at 5 o'clock, well, I'll work all the way up till 5:15. I think I still got time to get there, not counting the drive there. Wherever you got to go.
right.
So I'm usually
We
late
can make it work.
yeah, but I don't never intentionally do that. It just things like it happen to me all the time where I forget stuff. Do this and do that, and just I feel like every day is just in chaos a little bit. As far as all
Yeah.
that being your normal living is for me. But I'm dealing with it. I'm 55 now, and I'm still going like I used to. So I feel like that.
Man, you're 50. You look good for 55, man. I would not have thought that. You look like you're in your like mid 40s, dude. So,
Right.
so
Well, I appreciate
that's
that.
a good thing.
And
Yeah.
I don't know what that's all for. I guess because of her, I probably wouldn't look like this, but but she does keep me straight. Shayna does, and I disappoint her more than she for all the stuff she does for me. I disappoint her more by forgetting stuff and just being late and all that junk. But she's learned to deal with it for
Yeah,
sure.
no whiteboards. Just get a ton of whiteboards for the house, man. I'm telling you, it
Right.
does wonders, dude. That's
I'm
what I
tell-
got,
I,
like 5 of them.
what's funny? I'm sitting there right now on my desk right here in my shop. I got notepads, notepads, notepads. I got stuff everywhere. I'm always wanting to take notes, but I don't ever take notes hardly. Always scribble.
legal pads stacking.
They're everywhere, man. And
Yeah.
and I write stuff down in them. I never go back and look at them what I wrote down, but I'm always feel like I gotta take notes. I got a list here now of things I need to do today, and I'll maybe look at it one more time, but then it'll end up over there somewhere and I'll have a new one. Then I can't find it, then I'm looking for another one, so I struggle big time on all that stuff, but.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. It's a battle that that the strong can survive. That's for sure. We're figuring it out one day at a time. So before we let you go, Jeremy, I know you mentioned that you're doing some racing right now. How's that been going for you? You winning any races, and what's the future looking like for 2025?
Yeah, man, it looks really good for 2025. And this past year, we won the championship, excuse me, with the Grand National Series, Super Series, and won, I think, 3 races and had a great year. We had a fun year, and that I really love what I'm doing right now. I really love running that series, or I like because I'm running my own car, and I've got some a partner now that's come on board with me, and he and I are going to be running together. He's got a car also, so we're going to have a 2-car team this year. Just got a new trailer he did, and for to haul both cars in. So things are starting to pick up for us, and it look a lot better in the future for us. But I'm really excited, and I'm having a great time doing what I'm doing.
Heck yeah! Where can people go watch you race at?
I think the schedule just came out, but we're going to Georgia this year. I forgot what the name of the Cohort or something like that. Georgia. I can't think the name of it. I just seen the first
I'll have to look
it.
into it.
Yeah, we got Caraway Speedway, Tri-County, Dominion, Carteret. There's probably I'm forgetting several of them, but there's Lonesome Pine Speedway, Newport, Tennessee, going there this year. So a lot of it's short track stuff, but it's probably within 4 or 5 hour radius from Charlotte. Just around this area, and pretty much Virginia, and I think we went to Alabama a couple years ago and all that stuff. So you can pretty much see us anywhere close by here.
We'll definitely try to make sure that that happens going into this year. I know I should be up in the Charlotte area a little bit more, so I'm gonna try to make sure I got some of those tracks. I want to get you out to an IndyCar race.
I know.
You never
just
watched
let me know,
IndyCar?
man. Let me know. I'll go.
Yeah. They got some
For
great
sure.
oval tracks on the schedule this year, so we'll figure it out. But I love that we got to finally do this talk, and it was great getting your insight, and it was great just kind of hearing from you and your side, and really being able to kind of relate with somebody that has been in the NASCAR garage and has had such a huge impact with the sport that can kind of share and give that intimate perception of what
Right.
things are like from where you sit. So I
Right.
really appreciate that, Jeremy. And also to Jeremy is on social media. It's at Jeremy Mayfield.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, just right, plain and simple, at
Yeah.
Jeremy Mayfield. He keeps it simple for everybody. I know you've been you're most active on the Twitter or X, right?
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, I don't do a lot of any of it, but yeah, pretty much.
You get on there, just keep up with things. But yeah,
Yeah.
I saw you posting some stuff, and so that's where I keep up with you as well. So that's where you can follow him, guys. And again, just thanks so much. And let's hope for the best with NASCAR for the future.
Yeah.
And to everybody watching this, be sure to like, share, subscribe. Let us know in the comments
Yeah.
what you think about what we discussed here today, and what you would like to see come out of NASCAR in the event that we do get the big shakeup. But that's going to do it for today. Thanks so much, guys. Jeremy, thank you again.
Yeah, buddy.
And
Thank you for having me.
yep, we will see you very soon.